Hey, welcome, buddy. It is time for a GDC Hangout. I thought this was an important enough topic to go ahead and just get on Discord and invite a bunch of people in, see what they got to say about it. It is something that is pertinent on social media right now, especially going on with the things in the world with COVID-19 virus, and people that are following various other people on Twitter, they'll know who we're talking about and the recent tweets that they had in regards to Facebook that has been taking down their post because they're advocating a position that I think is actually socially responsible. So real quick, just to get things out of the way, we are streaming to multiple locations. I'm trying to stream to not just my Facebook page, but to my YouTube page as well. So let me know if it's working correctly. Right now, I think I'm just going to Facebook. Let me make sure that I'm actually going to all the places I'm supposed to go here. The joys of multi-restreaming stuff. So, outside chat on the live chat for my channel on the Great Debate Community channel. Can you hear me out there? Can you see me? Do I exist? Do I have substance? Do I have an existential crisis going on? Let me see here first. Let me know if it's working. Oh, they can see me. Okay, because I can see myself. I just heard myself. Okay. So like I said, I am streaming to multiple locations, so I will try to keep up with the people that are trying to come in. The link to join is in the video description. It is just a link to the Discord. If you're new to the Discord, you have to get roles. I will assign them to you, or one of my moderators will. But if not, just jump on in at any time. And I will post the link to the Discord on my Facebook because I know you guys don't have it. So the link is going to be posted right here. Link to join is right there. And then you can actually subscribe to the YouTube channel too if you want, if you haven't yet do that. So anyways, a while ago, I was scrolling through my Twitter feed and stuff like that. It actually is yesterday, about, I don't know, 8 or 9 hours ago. And one of our favorite pastors Greg Locke, who I don't have much to do with. I've never actually talked to the guy, and I don't even know why I follow him. I think I just do it for lulz. But he's a pretty well-known pastor that has pretty controversial views. And I personally think that a lot of it he does is for sensationalism. I think he's kind of like a Stephen Molyneux kind of guy, right? I think he just wants the attention. So he'll say really exasperating things to get people to get fired up, to kind of throw back at him to get attention, because I've noticed that a lot with these evangelistic people. I think a lot of them have a need to just want to be noticed. And he posted something about he had a public service announcement, which again, this was not a public service announcement. This was just letting people know that he was going to have church, that he was still going to have people on Sunday coming in to have congregation. That's not a public service announcement. YouTube said that post went against their community standards and coordinating harm and promoting crime. He took umbrage to this. Now, let me make it very clear. I don't think it's promoting crime, but this is a catch-all statement that Facebook has. Your post goes against community standards on coordinating harm and promoting crime. The stipulation there for why they removed it is not that he's promoting crime per se, because he said, I am beyond fired up at this point. Y'all need to wake up. Facebook removed my service announcement post and said to keep the church open was promoting crime. We're not closing. Well, this was actually it was actually a conjunction, but it is actually on coordinating harm. I don't think they should post it as coordinating harm and promoting crime. It should be a disjunction, coordinating harm or promoting crime, right? Because it should be one or the other, not conjunction of the both. But the question I want to ask you guys is, do you guys think this is promoting harm? Now, I talked to Chess on this the other day, and I think we both agreed that there's something to be said about faith, right? And if he has actual faith that he wants to have, church on Sundays. It was actually a conjunction. Real quick. Sorry about that. If he wants to have faith and he wants to go to church, I don't think everybody really cares about that per se. But because there is a quarantine kind of effect, because people are having social distancing, where does his faith end and where does social responsibility begin, right? I think what he should have done, if he wanted to be a socially responsible individual, is if anyone wants to have faith, would just be, okay, we're going to have church, but we're going to have it electronically. Discord now has 20 people at a time you can have. Some other things on Google, Google, not Hangouts, but Google Meets, you can have up to 100 people, right? What is more important to a deity, to a benevolent deity? trying to reduce a pandemic or trying to just promote Greg Locke as a pastor that wants to go kind of violate these things to go feed his ego, which, by the way, he really does have, and have church, right? I mean, again, it's one thing to have faith, and nobody's going to really go after him for that. At least, I wouldn't. But isn't faith supposed to be where you say, hey, God helps those who helps themselves? And if there's something that is like considered to be a social safety, right? When it comes to social safety things, that takes precedence. We've always had that established, at least in America, right? Your rights end where they've seemed to violate my public health, right? So why is this any different? I mean, we have people that want to handle snakes, right? Deadly snakes. And what happens because of their faith? They get bit. They die. And I'm sorry, but their faith did not protect them. Now, somebody could argue whether their faith wasn't strong enough, sure, but that's kind of neither here nor there. They're putting themselves in a harmful position, which they're allowed to do this for themselves, right? I mean, that's their body, their choice. But now with this pandemic, it's not just your choice. You're affecting other people. So I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys think about this? Do you think Greg Locke, first of all, do you think Facebook should be the gatekeeper here and say that their posts go against community standards or not? Do you think it was a crime? Do you think it was coordinating harm? Where do you guys stand on this real quick?
Well, when it comes to promoting harm and stuff like that, I kind of agree with you here. I mean, it's better to stay at home and do it electronically than it is to go out and invite risk.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't think anybody would care if you said, hey, you know what, we are going to praise God from church and we're going to do it from the privacy of our own homes. I don't think any deity would really care about that, right? I don't think it's something that a deity will sit around going, well, you just didn't have enough faith that I'd protect you from the virus. Well, hey, guess what? People die. God has killed people because of pandemics and viruses before. So maybe you're better off just going, hey, God, I just don't trust you to save me in this or something. Or even say, hey, look, I do trust you, but, why tempt fate, right? Why take the chance? Because people are dying.
Yeah, I don't think there has to be a designated building or something like that for people to worship.
No, matter of fact, correct me if I'm wrong, that a lot of are supposed to say, well, you pray in your closet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact scripture because you guys know me. I don't follow the exact verbatim scriptures, but I do know kind of what it says. But something along the lines that you're supposed to pray in your closet. So I think this is something that feeds Pastor Greg Locke's narcissism and that is ego. And when you're placing your own personal need for attention over the safety and well-being of your fellow man, how does that make you a pastor? I mean, isn't pastor supposed to set a good example for people? Shouldn't he be the leader and say, hey, we need to take social responsibility and we need to set an example and we need to say, look, we're going to have faith, but we're going to do it properly, and we're not going to have groups of people together where we can help, help a virus, exponentially expand throughout her congregation. Now, granted, are the likelihoods of that going to happen pretty strong? No, it's pretty slim. But still, everybody else is taking precautions. Why isn't he?
I don't know.
And why is he not? Let me ask you. Let me rephrase it, Brandon. Instead of him, why is he not thinking about his congregation?
Yeah, yeah, that's a little weird.
Yeah, I don't seem to understand his reasoning here, and he didn't really provide it either on the Twitter. If you actually read what he said, he's just upset that Facebook took the post down, and he says Facebook said I was promoting a crime for advertising that church remains open. We're not under communism, people. Now, I will agree with him. I don't think it's a crime, and I do think that Facebook post saying your post goes against our community standards on coordinating harm and promoting crime is not the best way to word it. And again, it's that conjunction. It should be a disjunction, right? I think it should say your post goes against community standards on coordinating harm or promoting crime. Or if you want to add both and or promoting crime. Because crime is a criminal thing, right? I mean, for them to say that he's promoting crime, you're saying he's promoting something illegal. Telling people to go to church is not saying something illegal. So I do agree with him on that. But I don't think that's really what he's arguing.
Yeah, the home thing I agree with. I don't know about the crime thing. What would he be doing that would be committing a crime?
No, nothing. Yeah, that's. I mean, it's not relating to crime, but I think what happens is Facebook has a one size fit all kind of catch-all for community guidelines, right? So if you do something where they can remove your post, they want to catch it all into one specific thing rather than, have different, I guess, different ways of saying, hey, we don't want you to have this post. They kind of just have one, and that way they can just all fit it under that one umbrella.
It kind of makes sense, but not really.
It makes sense that there was a violation of community standards. I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with this way it's worded, but I do think that they have a right to remove it. I do think they have a responsibility to remove it. I don't think he should be complaining about it. I think he should take it to heart and say, hey, what is it that I'm doing wrong here? What is it that Facebook is telling me I'm not doing correct? And what it is he's not being socially responsible. Now, again, I don't care if people do things for themselves, or they want to handle snakes and be bit or whatever, or, if they want to take the chance to fly anywhere. I have no problem with that either. Hey, prices are cheap right now. I have no problem with that. I was looking at some flights too. I was like, hey, this is going to be cheap. I'm good with that, right? I don't worry about that because, if I happen to get affected, that's my own thing, right? I'm not, I don't have the virus or anything like that, so I'm not harming anybody else by taking flights if you do it responsibly enough, right? So that's fine. But if you have a congregation of 50 people in church where a lot of them are going to be very friendly, they're going to be very close to each other, hugging and stuff like that, that I think is something when all the other business, like businesses are being shut down, right? Restaurants are being shut down. You can't even go to get Jack in the Box. You have to go through the drive-thru. And so if all these other places are taking social responsibility to say, hey, look, for 2 weeks, we're going to do this or so, whatever it is. And then you have this one guy who's so arrogant and so egotistical and so narcissistic to say, you know what? I'm better than all you. I'm better than all this because I'm a pastor of a church and I'm going to have church anyways to have my congregation can set a piss poor example for the rest of the country and the rest of the world. That's what I'm reading it as. And by the way, I saw Ceti, Ceti lurking around earlier, and she had actually said something on the twits earlier about this. So I wonder if she wants to pop in and kind of add her 2 cents to it.
Well, the 2 weeks thing is because you can have it for up to 2 weeks without even knowing it.
Yeah, it's between 2 and 14 days, give or take.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't follow Greg at all. I mean, I follow him on Twitter. And like I said, I do it mostly for lulz, but I don't really interact with him. I've never talked to the guy. Surprised he hasn't blocked me. I mean, I'm sure he knows of me. He's been talked about by many other channels in the community. I just never really bothered with him because there was nothing of interest I had to say about him. He seemed to just be somebody of a typical evangelistic, hey, let's get attention by saying dumb things that a lot of them do. And so I just never really bothered with that because that kind of format I don't have for my channel per se, right? But this was something that I just didn't want to look the other way on. I was like, this is something that actually is affecting other people if he's advocating for his congregation to go to church. And also, like Saitan Brunicaid, who is a friend of mine, who I do like, and I talk to, pretty frequently, he was kind of advocating the same thing, right? He was advocating go to church too, but I at least was talking to him about it. I was like, do you really think that this is something that you should be promoting? I mean, do you think that yes, I understand that you have faith, but don't you think it is the most socially responsible thing to do to say, look, I have faith, but I also need to take certain safety precautions, right? I mean, do you see a lot of evangelistic Christians running down the middle of the freeway going, I have faith, but I'm not going to get hit by a car? No, right? Because they know that the chances are pretty good that they're going to get hit and killed by a car. So what is this any different? If they know that there's something going on in society that they need to be, as part of society, socially responsible about, then the only reason why I think that he's doing this is to feed his own ego. That's it. And after what I know about Greg Locke, that seems to be congruent with my knowledge of him.
Yeah, you should protect yourself and protect others also. Shit, man.
Oh, and by the way, like I said, I am streaming to Facebook. I don't normally do that. I'm streaming to my alt channel. I'm not streaming to my main channel, so it's not like a big show that I'm doing today. But I saw a name just pop up there on my Facebook that I haven't seen in a long time. I wonder if he's still around. Drew Marston. Drew Marston, is a shipmate of mine from the USS Truxton back in the Navy days. He was our engineering laboratory technician. Yeah. So yes, I really was in the Navy. I really was with a nuke. I really did get honorably discharged. I really did 6 years. So when people say, like, Steve has stolen valor, he never served. Yeah, piss off. I have a lot of old shipmates, but I haven't seen Drew around before, so it's been a while at least. But I recognize that name. Yeah, so like I said, my Facebook people, they don't really know a lot of stuff that I do on YouTube. I know people on my Facebook page for, well, some of them for my entire life, but I'm trying to do more restreaming on various platforms, see how it goes, especially to kind of raise awareness to get when we get back to Non Sequitur show. And because of the COVID-19 virus, I'm still going to be doing the new show with Fuzz Rana for Reasons to Believe, as a non-believer talking to a believer. He has a PhD in biochemistry. I don't, so it should be really great. But we're going to be doing it, I think, over the computer for the first episode or so, because Reasons to Believe headquarters has been effectively shut down. And Dr. Hugh Ross is like, what, in his 70s or something like that. So he's self-quarantined himself until all this is done, because it would probably be really bad if he got infected, you know. And I like Hugh. Hugh is such a nice guy, too. It's really weird because I don't agree with Dr. Hugh Ross and Dr. Fuzz Rana on certain things, clearly, right? I don't agree with them, especially on the instantiation of ensoulment. From some whatever line of demarcation they have, they say, oh, well, there's hominids and hominids and hominids, and some of these actually had souls and some of them did not, but you know where that line is, who knows, right? But they accept only a certain amount of degree of evolutionary theory with descent with modification, but then they kind of throw in, well, at some point though, you went from beast to human, and I just don't see how that's possible, kind of thing. It doesn't fit the data that I see for hominids development. Hey, Chris. I see Chris out there on my Facebook too.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Chris. It's weird because, like I said, I don't really stream to my Facebook that often. So, but anyways, who else we got sitting in the Discord here? I saw a couple people come in. Did you guys want to? By the way, you guys might know it only shows the people that are talking, so there might be multiple people in the Discord. I have a couple hundred people online, but it only shows the people talking. So
there's somebody else here that's muted.
Yeah, Bored Hominid. You want to add?
In my opinion, we are still beasts in that. We're still apes. That's what I think.
Well, we are apes. Yeah, I mean, well, we're categorically apes. If you accept apes as being a certain group of species, right? Apes are going to be like, it's a group, not exactly a clade per se. And when you say ape, there's usually talking about, however, well, you can be either monophyletically or paraphyletic, and that's the problem. Because we are apes in one way and we're not in another. Just like we're fish in one way and we're not fish in another. If we're monophyletically speaking, yes, I'm a fish, I'm an ape, and I'm an animal. But paraphyletically, no. And it all depends on how you're trying to use the terminology to have a discussion. For example, if I want to talk about beast of burden, right, animals, but not include humans, then we're not really talking about biological classifications anymore. We're talking about a paraphyletic type thing where I'm taking out a specific thing from that clade and saying, yes, even though biologically speaking we're animals, but we're not putting humans as animals. Like, for example, when we talk about animal rights, we're not talking about human rights, right? We have differentiated between human rights and animal rights. But we are animals, so we got to be real careful on how we use the terminology there. So yes, I do say that we are apes. We're also monkeys. We're fish, but that really doesn't do us any good to say those things in a lot of cases, because we're trying to differentiate between our uses of terminology to say, look, I'm going to go fishing doesn't mean I'm actually hunting for humans, right? Unless you're doing I'm plenty of fish, right? And you're trying to date somebody, I guess. So,
yeah.
Hey, Chris, did you want to come into the Discord and add? I put the link to the Discord in the video description. It is the Great Debate Community Discord. If you want to join us, if you want to give your read on Greg Locke. And again, I'm not that familiar with this guy. I've known about him for a few years. I just don't really do a lot of call outs for these types of evangelists very much, right? I mean, I will on Twitter, like when I see S.J. Thomason or I see Ceti and Predatory saying something that I just go, cringe. But this really got my attention because I do think what he's doing is completely socially responsible.
Yeah. By the way, did Satan change his mind about the going to church thing when you talked about him about it, or does he still think that people should go to church?
No, he didn't really change his mind. I haven't got an update from him. I know he's kind of been stuck in Canada. He was trying to move to Texas at one time, but yeah, I don't think he's really changed his mind on that. Although I wish he would have came in. I did tag him on this. I will have an update on what his stance is, but maybe he kind of had some self-reflection and said, yeah, maybe Steve's right. I usually am. I don't know. Yeah, but I mean, I have no desire to talk to Greg Locke. However, if we ever get the non sequitur show back, or I should say when we get the non sequitur show back, maybe I'll reach out to him and have him come on and try to justify his position, because that's obviously a bigger channel that has some name recognition to still get some of these more well-known people.
Cool. That'd be cool. Hold on.
I mean, how many followers does that dude have? He's got a number of followers. Right? I mean, I haven't checked, but let's see. Greg Locke. Let's see how many followers he has. Is it Luke's or is it Locke's? This tells you how much I really pay attention. Is it Greg Locke? I think it's Locke, not Luke, is it? But he's got 50,000 followers on Twitter, so that's pretty good. But I didn't tag him, and like I said, I really have no desire to actually have a discussion with him. But Saya would, because I actually like Saya, and if I can change his mind on something, that's great, right? I only like to try to have conversations with people if I can actually think I can change their position for the most part any longer, because I just find it's useless to talk to people that you can't. Although, I would, and maybe I'll reach out to Greg, I don't know, at some point, but not right now. Yeah, it probably would be an interesting discussion. I agree with Chris in the live chat for my Facebook. But anyways, boy, I'm kind of surprised more people aren't jumping into this. A lot of people were talking about this earlier. Then I set it up for Discord, and I noticed a lot of people don't join on Discord. I'm not a big fan of Discord. I'm just now starting to kind of use it more than ever. But I noticed when I use Google Hangouts or Zoom or StreamYards or whatever, those get a lot more people that want to be active in it. So anyways, come on in, Mr. I know we got a ton of people on the YouTube channel. None of them are coming in though. So Mr. Serious, I see you out there lurking. Maki, I see you lurking. Mikey Cage, I see you lurking. Scuba Steve, I see you lurking. Icarus, come on in and give me your guys' feedback because I like to get your opinion on these things too. Eric says Locke. Yeah, so is it Locke? Yeah, L-O-C-K-E. That's pronounced Locke, I believe, right? Oh, and by the way, yeah, I know notifications, Mr. Serious. I know some people are not getting notifications. What I would recommend is just that bell. Turn the bell off and then turn it full on again. Don't unsubscribe, but just turn the bell off and turn it back on again. That seems to help. I know I had that problem the other day with Cheshire. I didn't get a notification for her thing till like 10 minutes later. so I'm wondering if just a lot of people didn't get a notification for this, because this is unusually light even for this channel. I do get a notification. It did happen at 5 o'clock, so yeah, I did, but other people might not have. So it doesn't surprise me. Eric just says yes, but that doesn't tell me anything. Eric, yes, it's Lockie or Locke or Luke. I've heard people pronounce it Greg Luke, and that's why I was curious, but I think it's Greg Locke. Yeah, I know he's got some issues with his wife, but I'm not going to go down that personal route, Chris Hembry, from Facebook. I don't want to deal with the personal type stuff unless there's absolutely unequivocally no question about kind of things. But even then, this is no reason to bring in a lot of that stuff when we're talking about the bigger picture, because he might be a scum, he might be a wife beater, he might be whatever. He could be, the worst man on worst human on the face of the earth. But I want people to see that he's not a good person because of something like this, right? Because he's promoting his own ego ahead of social responsibility. And I think that's important because he's not the only one. I know Saitan Brunica wanted to as well. And I know there's other pastors out there and other religious people out there that for some reason think that their faith takes precedence over the safety and consideration of people in society, especially their congregation. I find that to be dangerous, very dangerous. And here I am, because I'm a person who's generally an agnostic. I get along very well with people of faith. But I think you have to have responsible faith. When you tell people to go to church, to have a congregation, and ignore the recommendations of these organizations that are telling people to take certain safety precautions and not have groups of over a certain amount, or even avoid generally social interactions as a whole, and have some social distancing, I think you are doing something very dangerous. I think you are putting yourself and your ego. It's not your faith in God you're testing at that point. I don't think it really isn't. This is what Chester and I was talking to you about the other day. You know, she's like, well, at least they're internally consistent that they're about to have faith. And I'm like, yeah, I get that. And I agree with her on that. They are, well, at least I cite 10, especially as internally consistent, because I do think he is a true believer. I don't know about Greg, if he is or not. But even if you're a true believer and you're internally consistent, there is some hubris to be had there. And I definitely think that this is indicative of Greg Locke's hubris to say, hey, during this time of pandemic, you know what? Doesn't matter. Just come to church anyways and blah, blah, blah. It's the same thing that I've seen. Who was it the other day? And I can't remember her name, and probably good because I don't care. But who's the lady that has been advising Trump that basically wanted, if we had a stimulus package and everybody was getting checks, wanted people to send her checks, right? I mean, she's basically been fear-mongering and trying to profit off of all this pandemic stuff. The blonde, I can't remember her name, so somebody's going to have to point it out to me. But she's one of the most reprehensible people I've ever seen. I mean, she is a bottom feeder, to say the least. And again, it's not a matter of faith at that point. It is a matter of people putting their own ego and their own, I guess the word to me would basically be grifting over anything else. I mean, at that point, when people say, hey, you know what, this time when we need, just send the church money. No. Don't send the fucking church a goddamn thing. Send it to the people directly, or send it to the American Red Cross, or send it to the hospital, send it to the Doctors Without Borders, send it to an organization that actually does something rather than sits around and just says, hey, we're going to pray for you. Now, again, I'm not advocating people don't pray. I don't care. Go ahead, pray. But that prayer, first of all, shouldn't be something that has to be paid for. And second of all, if praying and you're not actually doing anything, then what good are you actually doing? That money can go to actually something that we know has had actually use, right? Prayer is hit or miss. Even if it's the case, it's hit or miss. But we have established that there are organizations that can actually help things. If you want to send money and help, do it to those organizations. Don't be sending it to whoever her name is. I mean, that to me is somebody who's absolutely bottom feeding in order to profit off tragedy. And again, what is her name? Does anybody know? Again, I probably don't care. Paula Johnson. Thank you. Gregory Roca. Yeah, the Paula Johnson. I think you're right on that. That sounds very familiar. Let me Google and look her up, because we have the ability to. No, it's not actually Paula Johnson. I recognize that name too. She's but that's not who I'm thinking of.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Who am I thinking of?
I have no idea, but I did want to chime in a little bit. You were saying about how this is kind of a faith issue, but I think it's a two-pronged issue. I think not only that you have to kind of break through the barriers of faith to get through these people, but you also have to break through the barrier of very massive anti-science campaign, where even if they didn't have any faith, they'd have such a mistrust in science in general because of, evolution's not true. Scientists lie, and there's
that's
no
very
evolution.
True. Yeah. Oh, by the way, her name's Paula White. We were close. Paula White, not Paula Johnson, but Paula White. But you're absolutely right. It's not that some of these people they do distrust science. This is true. Now, again, I don't know Pastor Locke well enough. I've never talked to the guy. I think we may have reached out a long time ago, but it has to be a long while. But you're right. There's a inherent distrust of science when you have certain evangelicals trying to denounce evolutionary theory or in lieu of creationism and special creation and dispensations of installments like I have with the Reasons to Believe. Again, I'm working with them. I think they're great people, but I do disagree with that particular topic. And we do know certain things that do exist, though, right? I mean, we do know that viruses exist. We do know that vaccines work. When people are distrusting these things in order to kind of fearmonger. I go and I definitely say that it is because people like Pastor Greg Locke puts their ego ahead of everything else, including rational science, right? Things we've already know that work. Anti-vaxxers do it all the time.
Well, I mean, science is something that can be backed up and proven. So if he takes a back seat and lets people look in through science, that's like a rabbit hole that never ends. They're going to learn everything they need to learn. So if he stops talking, that's trouble.
Well, like I said, is he? I don't know if he's a younger creationist or not. Is he? I'm probably going to go on a limb and say yes, but I'm not.
I'm going to look him up real quick.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I was going to, but level.
Well, I wonder if Ceti Marie Jones knows. Again, I don't follow the guy, and I don't even bother to even go look him up that much. I just see him on Twitter every so often say some dumb shit, and I don't really comment that much because I know he has a tendency to block people. Same thing like Ray Comfort, right? I don't comment on any Ray Comfort stuff because he has a tendency to block. I don't comment on Answers in Genesis stuff because they have a tendency to block. Look what happened with even atheist. What was it? Atheist Republic, right? I used to comment on Atheist Republic a lot. What they ever do? Blocking me. So it's like, I don't care if you're an atheist or theist or whatever. A lot of people just block me because I tend to call them out on things. And so certain things I just don't bother anymore. I just mock them from afar, right? I don't have to post shit on Answers in Genesis to say, hey, look, you guys are really wrong on here. So, Chris says he is a younger creationist. So yeah, it kind of follows then, right, Chris, that what Mr. Sirius was saying, that these younger creationists definitely have an inherent distrust of science.
He also is apparently a climate change denier.
Oh, fuck.
That I knew too, but here's the thing. I said before you came on, Mr. Sirius, that he is one of those people that says sensational things just for views, right? And so I don't know whether he actually believes that or not. You never know with some of these people because unlike certain content creators, like me, people know that when I say something, it's something that I believe and something I usually have provided a decent argument for, right? People don't have to sit there and go, what does Steve believe? I actually wrote down a lot of my positions on my blog, right? Just because I didn't want to get strawmanned half to death because I get the strawman daily. So I made a little post and I put down my positions for strawman abatement. Has it helped? Yeah, somewhat. But nobody ever really has to say, hey, do you know what Steve's position is on this? Generally, at some point in the last 8 years, I've given you my positions on it. With him,
unless
who knows?
Like you got a word wrong or something, and but that's correctable. It's not a big deal.
Well, yeah, but generally, I mean, for example, if somebody says, "Hey, Steve, agnostic," yes. Steve a descriptivist, yes. Is Steve a moral cognitivist? Yes. People generally know my positions. Now, again, there's some leeway there. But when you have dealings with people that are younger creationists, or you have people that are these rabid evangelicals, I think they'll say anything just to get attention. I mean, look at Pat Towell, right? I mean, who the hell knows what that guy believes? I'm referring to the guy
Pat
that
Towell.
Yeah, well, I call him Pat Towell. But he says he advocates for the position of gays being executed by the government, right? And of course, I don't know whether he believes it or not. Is he just doing it for sensationalism, or is he that much of a sadistical psychopath? Well,
I think he believes it.
I think he probably does too at this point. I really kind of think he does. And the reason I say that is because I've had enough correspondence with the guy to know that he is a very, very dishonest, disingenuous person, to say the least. And so, yeah, I think that he probably actually does believe it. But again, you never know with these people because you never know what they are actually thinking and believing, because they'll change on a dime if they think that's going to, make them more popular or give them more money or have an effect to raise their standing. They don't have any core principles. And people can say what they want about Psi 10, but at least I think Psi 10 actually believes what he believes, and he will not change his core principles. Matter of fact, he has actually, it's very surprising, stood by his principles. And I gave him props for it, even though I disagree with him. But he has stood by certain things, and I went, wow, yeah, okay, because he didn't want to, I don't know what it was, but he didn't want to do something because he actually really believed that it would be the wrong course of action based on his beliefs. And he does think about that. He does think about, is this something that I should do or not do? And I don't think a lot of actual religious people do that. I think that a lot of them just have lip service. So I will give him props for that, right? Sean uses Brat Towel. Yeah, Pratt, yeah, whatever. Brat, Pat, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if I would give more credit to somebody who believes the shit that he's shoveling or somebody who doesn't. Like if somebody was in a cult and he took a bunch of the cult people's money and then he didn't drink the Kool-Aid, I'm not sure if I respect that person less or more than somebody who would actively drink the Kool-Aid. I mean, it's. I don't think it's any better. I think it's kind of they're both spreading the same amount of misinformation. Just one's doing it for this reason, the other one's doing it for the same reason. I think at the end of the day, I mean, if you might have like a mob with one less like pitchfork in it, woo! I don't think it makes that much a difference.
Yeah, you're looking at it from a more of a utilitarian type position. You're looking at it how it affects, the greatest amount of people, and I get that, but I'm looking at it more of an internal ethical thing rather than an external moral thing. I think that internally, he's internally consistent, and I do hold that to be valued. I think that there's something in axiology to hold to, some types of value. And one of the values that I think is important is consistency, right? I don't think that a person who is inconsistent in their beliefs and their actions, I'm not going to say they're irrational, but it's not really my kind of person, right? Let's say I know somebody that says, hey, you know what? My beliefs are this, this, and this, but you know what? I'm going to do that, that, and that. Right. I mean, that kind of person is a very inconsistent person. I'd rather have somebody say, you know what, this is what I believe, and I'm going to live by those beliefs. Mm-hmm. This is why I say if people want to hold deadly snakes and they believe that God is going to protect them from them, okay. Now, one could argue we have a duty in society to protect people from themselves, right? I get that, and that is a good argument, by the way. But barring that, if a person wants to have faith and hold snakes and say, God's going to protect me, okay, maybe we should let them do it, although it probably will end up getting them killed. But, of course, the counter argument is if people are that, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say delusional. So I don't think it's delusion. But if people are that indoctrinated to believe that snakes are not going to kill them, even though there's been precedent of snakes killing people, do we as a society have a moral obligation to step in and say, you know what, you can no longer do this? I would probably argue yes, believe it or not, because that it's consistent with my ethical framework, right?
It would be violating the freedom of church and state, though. That's tricky.
No, it really doesn't. The Church of State, the way the Church of State is that the United States cannot promote or establish a religion, right? But it doesn't mean that you cannot protect the people from themselves, right? There are laws out there. I mean, there are laws that say, hey, you cannot commit animal sacrifice in the name of some deity, right? So we have things that you cannot do that are prevented because of safety and concern and animal rights or whatever. So you can't just get away with all kinds of religious freedom. You can't say, hey, it's my religious freedom to do this and commit a crime, right?
I thought that if you were a member of Santeria or something, that you could sacrifice chickens.
There are some minor things like New Orleans. I think at one time had Santeria where you could do chickens. I think they changed all that, but I don't know. But there very, very few places have that any longer. So you might be right in very small cases, but I mean, if it's still illegal to kill a dog, in the name of sacrifice, right? We can't do burnt offerings. Yeah, so I mean, I think that when somebody's personal safety is at hand, I think we have an obligation as a society to step in. If Brandon, if you're up on a roof and you say, "Look, I believe that if I jump off this roof, God's going to catch me," and that actually would be under something that might be considered delusional, right? Under the DSM-5, we have to at that point say you are no longer capable of making your own rational decisions, and we have to take you off that roof and evaluate you for your own personal safety. Maybe the people that do the same thing with the snakes would be the same reasoning.
Maybe.
Yeah. But what about the case with like Greg Locke? I mean, does the state have a right to step in and say, no, you can't do this? And by the way, they're not actually saying anybody can't do that right now. Everything is voluntarily the case at this point. There's nothing mandated that you have to shut down from, as far as I know. Right. But let's say that the state did mandate. Let's say the state mandated they said, yeah, look, we're going to shut down restaurants, casinos, blah, 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 what they're doing. But it is a legal mandate rather than just a strong suggestion. At that point, does that apply to churches?
It's not saying you can't worship. It's just saying you can't assemble in large groups because it's a huge risk that you're going to get sick.
I do agree, and I think it is the case that in that particular case, it is not a violation of a person's individual rights or religious freedoms. It is a safety consideration that it must take precedence, and always has been taking precedence. By the way, I say another name I haven't seen out there in a long time, Nora Segura. Again, I know a lot of people just pop on in and then take off, but if Nora's still around there, Nora is one of my sister's friends from like 20, 30 years ago. So a lot of people come out from the woodworks on my Facebook every so often. But hi, Nora. If it's been a long while, if you're still sticking around. Like I said, I don't stream to my Facebook very often. Very, very rarely do I do it to my public Facebook page. I'll do it in groups, right? I'll do it to the Great Debate Community group in Facebook and some other ones that I'll stream to, but I don't usually do it on my main page. But not a lot of people
only
watch
19
it.
people in here. It's a little bit.
This is dead
I don't know.
today. Yeah, this is like the slowest I've ever seen it. This is what I'm saying. I don't think people are getting notifications because I missed a notification the other day. 19 is like the lowest I've ever seen. So, wow. Yeah, that's low. I mean, usually I still get about 100 or something on this particular channel, or at least, 50 to 100. I had 200 last night on my main, 1,000 on Non Sequitur.
Yeah, and I'm here, so you should be at 300 now.
Right? What did you see? Jim did, or not Jim, James did really well the other night. He had 5,000 people watching on the Matt Dillahunty discussion.
That's pretty neat, I guess.
I'm props to him. He's going to be working with me to do the after shows. Matt Dillahunty is never going to come on my channel again, I don't think. But I'll still be happy to do the after shows. Yeah.
I would love it if he would. I mean, just to have a discussion, not like a debate, just a talk.
I would love. I would.
Be great.
I would too, man. I have nothing against Matt Dillahunty, except that I think he's just fundamentally wrong in certain things, and I can explain why he's wrong, and I have done so. I've written in blogs. I've made videos. I have all the evidence that he's wrong. What does he have? Nothing. And I think he knows that, and because he knows that I have all the evidence, he just doesn't want to engage with me, and he just calls me smug and no, I don't want to deal with Steve, right? Yeah, and so it's like, wait a minute here. You'll deal with theists, you'll deal with all these other people that is easily to show some of them their arguments are bad, right? But when you have somebody like myself who he's friends with, by the way, some people that I know. I mean, he's friends with actual philosophers that I know. He doesn't go out and tell them that they're wrong. He doesn't really just talk to them about it, right? But he still associates with them. So I don't know. I would do it. I would definitely have a discussion with Matt on moderated debate, but there's no possible way Matt would do it. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's an unwillingness to be corrected, which is that'd be hard. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to talk to him at that point.
Yeah.
It's like trying to have a conversation with a flat earther, but I mean, I actually wouldn't mind even having a conversation with a flat earther, but I don't want to talk about the flat earth.
Well, like I said, I don't know what he would actually say to me.
You're wrong.
I know his position, and every time that I've heard him talk about me, which has been often, I mean, he's talked about me on Atheist Edge, he's talked about me on Atheist Experience. He's gotten my positions wrong. He has legit, straight out said things about me that what I believe that are completely untrue. And I'm out there going, look, if you're going to be the person out there saying that you are promoting logic and reason and critical thinking, and yet you straw man somebody and you don't correct it, I don't put you on that pedestal of somebody who is really worthy enough to be a social influencer. Right? I mean, you need to correct your shit. And people come after me like, Steve doesn't correct his shit. The hell I don't. In fact, what's funny is, do you guys remember back on the Non Sequitur show how many times I would stop the show and say I need to fix something that I messed up on?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And so it happens all the time. And so when people say, well, Steve doesn't correct anything he gets wrong, the hell I don't. Where the hell does that come from? I'm happy to correct things that I get wrong. I want to put out correct information. He doesn't.
Well, they think you're wrong, and that doesn't mean that you're wrong. That just means that they think you're wrong.
Then demonstrate it. Why don't they demonstrate it? They keep on saying to people, look, evidence is king. You know, the last thing I said to Aaron before he blocked me was, Aaron, if you can't show it, you don't know it. right?
That was not the last thing that you said.
That was one of the last. That was the no. It was. I swear to God, it was the same day. It was one of the last things I said to him. Maybe it wasn't the very last thing, but it was the same day. I remember correctly that when he blocked me on Facebook.
I've heard him use that a couple of times.
Yeah, that's his statement, right? That's his phrase, right? but he kept on saying that I was wrong. Now he did correct himself later on, from what I understand. We were talking about the epistemic disposition of disbelief, and I think he finally realized that what I and Ozzy were telling him was correct on that particular uses of the word, and he messed up double negation. He was thinking that if you have not B, not P, as in I do not believe the negation, or I do not believe P is false, that is a double negation. And I kept trying to explain to him, no, double negation is not P. And in classical logic, not P is equal to P. Now, not all types of logic have that. There's something called intuitionist logic, where it doesn't have that. Not P does not equal P in intuitionist logic, but it does in classical logic. So I think he finally got that through his head, but he kept on telling me that I was just wrong. And then I showed him something off his own group, which is American Atheists, because he used to be, I think, a regional director for them or something. I know Matt still is. But was Arn a regional director for American Atheists? I know he cites them, but I don't know if he was on the board.
He might have had some position there for a bit. I remember that.
I thought so, but like I said, I'll correct it if I'm wrong. But I was like, hey, American Atheist says right here, atheism is not a disbelief. Because he was like, atheism is a disbelief God exists. I'm like, well, I believe it is too, Arn. But that means that you believe the negation. That means you believe there are no gods. He's like, no, that's not what it means. I'm like, yes, it does. and I cited him multiple different sources. And I'm like, even American Atheist uses it this way, because they say atheism is not a disbelief. They're wrong, but they use it the same way I do. Does that make sense? Yeah. So. Yeah.
How about that girl that was that you brought on from the chat a few days ago, and she was having a hard time understanding the P not P thing? Did you?
Amy?
You think you? Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm. Did she ever message you afterwards or anything like that to try to get?
She has not yet. It's only been a day though, but I could tell she was really taking things to heart. She was somebody who wanted to seem to learn. That's my favorite type of interlocutor, right? I want to have people that I can discuss things with and talk about and make them go, have that moment where they just go, maybe there's more to it than this, because you can almost see the gears turning when there's the overriding of their cognitive dissonance, where they say, you know what, maybe what American Atheist or Atheist Community of Austin have told us is not quite the case, right?
Right. I mean, I have nothing against her confidence in her her reasoning, but at the very least, she was able to recognize that it was flawed.
Yeah, and
or at least
I think she was at least saying, you know what, the possibility. She's like, I'm kind of seeing what you're saying is, but it wasn't fully registering, because again, it's a lot of indoctrination that people have got to get over, and until the other side can demonstrate that they've actually have a case, like I'm wrong, then people that I talk to and the people that they talk to, I say, okay, here's the evidence, here's the logic, here's the citations, here's the reasoning. Go to the other side, and they just say, well, Steve's a beanie boopy head. He's just wrong because, that's all they say. They've got nothing.
Yeah, teaching. I mean, this is one of those things that just came to mind. You run the shittiest cult ever, because you teach people how to fact check, and that way they can check when you say things, and that's just real shitty.
I got the worst minions too. I keep finding out that I have minions that don't do my bidding, and then don't agree with me, and I'm like, wait a minute, aren't minions supposed to just shut up, do what they're told, and agree with me 1,000%? Because I've got the worst goddamn troll minion group I've ever seen in my entire life, man. Y'all fired. Y'all fired, man. I ain't paying you a damn dime.
What? But is that because of the virus?
No, it just means that I never paid them to begin with. No, I'm not even joking though. That's just scary. It's like there was and it's so funny. Like if you be serious, if you're in a DM group like on Twitter, it all of a sudden becomes a super secret cabal.
Oh yeah, right.
Well, if you're in a private group on Facebook, it just means that it's unlisted. That's all private means, right? It's not some kind of super secret group. It just means that it's unlisted for Facebook. I expect anything I type in a private group or in a DM group to be made public. I put a lot of it on my own Facebook page. I don't care. I don't say anything different in public that I don't say in private, or vice versa. But I guess if you're in a DM group, then everybody in that group with you is automatically your henchmen and your troll group and your minions.
Speaking of minions, here's General Rez.
Hey, Rez.
Nice.
Man, Rez, do you do what you're told?
No.
Yeah. You guys
Just
suck.
ask my parents.
You guys are the worst minions I've ever had. I'm telling you.
Whatever.
I'm sorry.
So what do you think, though, Rez? What do you think of I don't know. I just called him doctor. I'm used to dealing with a lot of PhDs. Pastor Greg Locke. What do you think about him trying to get people to go to church for his little organization during this time?
Okay, is this the same guy who's a televangelist who's saying basically the same thing? Or is this a different one?
He's not really a televangelist. He's more of a YouTube evangelist, a Twitter evangelist.
But he's saying the same stupid shit that televangelist was.
Sure, let's go with that.
He's an idiot then.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm not sure if he's into faith healing. I didn't see that when I looked at his just a bit of like an overview of what he does, and that wasn't on there. But basically, kind of all the rest of the weird, wacky stuff is on there.
Yeah, well, I don't see him going around to all these different hospitals in Italy, trying to faith heal people, because most of the people will end up catching the virus. It's so funny that faith only goes so far with certain people. That's what I'm saying. It's a fine line to be had. I think there's a happy medium. This is one of the reasons I like virtue epistemology, is because there's always, I see a medium, moderation between two vices, right? So, that's your sweet spot. And so I think when it comes to faith, there might be a sweet spot that I'm okay with, right? But if you go too far on that, then you're not possibly dying, right? If you have, you don't want to have so much faith that, like you said, if I jump off a cliff, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to sprout wings and fly, or God's going to save me and gently lower me down the ground. That's a ridiculous a thing to have for anybody of faith, right? Or people that say, I believe, but I'm not going to do anything to show my belief, right? Because at that point, then I think you're just living a lie of some kind, right? Your actions are not congruent with your words. So I think there's a happy middle ground to be had, but I think what he's doing is beyond that middle ground. I think what he's doing is not just a showing of faith, it is a showing of his ego, that he thinks his beliefs and his wanting to have a congregation on Sundays should take precedence over social responsibility and safety.
And this goes back, I think, even into the Bible in the early days, where you're like splashing around bird blood to like remove curses from your house and stuff. Why can't they have like updated things? Like, let's say, say a prayer and take an aspirin, it becomes a super aspirin, and then it'll get rid of your headache that much faster. That's the way we'll speed up your cures. Just put God on top of the cure and then do it. I would totally respect that. But when people are like, lay on hands and shit, no, I don't think so. Like, that's just a scam to me.
I would say it's even more along the lines of, hey, look, we know medicine works. We know aspirin will help get rid of a headache. I think we should also pray. And if God decides that he wants to help us get rid of the headache too, great. If not, his choice. But if they want to put it as just a faith-based thing where it couldn't hurt either way, I don't care. At that point, it doesn't really matter, right? They can do it.
But it's never like that, though. It's always like, hey, give me the money and then forego your cancer treatment and just pray it away.
Those are predators.
What it always is.
And it's I'm glad that you mentioned that, because actually on Monday, good segue. On Monday, we're going to actually have a show on my main channel. We're going to do Caffeine Corner, but we actually have Jeff Holiday coming on. And the topic is going to be about predatory pseudoscience. And should they have platforms, freedom of speech? We are going to be talking about that. And he wants to find somebody to debate him on it on Modern Day Debate that I'm arranging for James. So if you guys know somebody who thinks that wants to take the opposite position, to say that predatory, they probably wouldn't call it predatory, but let's say that that it is, but that people that should be able to promote pseudoscience under freedom of speech. And this is a perfect time for that because of the COVID virus stuff, right? People are saying all kinds of stupid shit. There's all kinds of misinformation out there. Do they have a right to say that, even though it might harm people and be affecting, again, society as a whole? And now, to me,
Anybody-
I think they do not, but that's just me. And I agree with Jeff Holiday.
Anybody who is
It's predatory.
delivering deliberate misinformation should be deplatformed.
I can't say all of them. When it comes to pseudoscience, yes.
Deliberate misinformation? Yes, you fucking should.
No. It depends on, like, politically speaking, no, because then you would get rid of then every politician would not have a platform, right? But when it comes to safety,
Well, I'm for getting rid of politicians too. But
I don't blame you. But we're talking about. I want to stick in the domain of pseudoscience. If you're out there and you're saying, hey, look, drink the silver colloidal crap and it'll cure this, or drink this jelly juice and it'll cure that, or don't worry about catching a virus or this or that, then yes, I think that you should not have a platform, and I think that you, as a society, we have a right to deplatform those people. I probably would agree with that, right? Because at that point you're affecting the lives of people, and people that are putting out misinformation is predatory. I am at this moment on Jeff Holiday's side on that. But I do want to have somebody debate him on it. And I told James I would help arrange that. So trying to find somebody that will debate him on that might be pretty difficult. But I'm sure they're out there, because there's a lot of predators out there.
It is true, but that's going to take some interesting wording. Like maybe alternative medicine?
Which generally is pseudoscience.
And I think there's another phrase too, like there's alternative medicine and like new age, I think, or something.
Well, there's naturopathy, but natural doesn't necessarily mean harmful. I mean, there's natural remedies that I agree with. I mean, there are things that are natural, but things like homeopathy. How many times can people go over homeopathy, right? I mean, it seems like everybody who comes on the YouTube, they start off with this like debunking stuff. They start off with the same things. Let's do a debunking video on homeopathy. It's been done before 1,000 times. You know how many videos I've done debunking homeopathy? None. None. Do you know why? Because it's been done 1 billion freaking times. Do I really need to do another one? Or, does another, not me, but does somebody really need to do another video on homeopathy? No, it doesn't work. It is bullshit. What else needs to be said on it? But it's like they got to start somewhere, right? These baby skeptics and baby atheists they always pick a topic like, let's do homeopathy or astrology.
I think there is at least some benefit to homeopathy when it comes to, I forget the name of the effect.
Placebo effect.
Placebo effect.
That's it, thank you.
But I don't think placebo effect is something we should be relying on. And
No,
yeah.
but if a homeopathy remedy is like readily affordable to the vast majority of people, I don't think it's that big a harm. When it comes to snake oil that does literally nothing,
homeopathy literally does
very
nothing.
Expensive.
Yeah.
Homeopathy literally does. It's water. It's water that's been diluted down. It has two major flaws in the reasoning. One, they think that the more something is diluted, the stronger potency becomes, which is counterintuitive and completely wrong. And the other is that water retains some kind of memory, which has been non-demonstrated by any means. There's no evidence that whatsoever.
Essence of whatever it's been in.
And real quick, there's also some innocent bystanders. Like, for example, my sister was working on a PhD, right? And she's not what I consider to be somebody who's uneducated. I don't get along with my sister, but I will never say she's an idiot when it comes to certain things. I mean, like I said, she has a master's degree. She was working on a PhD in education, but she would buy a homeopathy thing for my daughter, when my daughter was really young, not realizing that it didn't work. To her, she didn't understand. She didn't know anything about it. She didn't know what 50X meant or whatever. She just thought, oh, okay, this has honey in it and blah, 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 or it has onion, whatever. And it's just something that would work and it's natural. So she didn't even understand that homeopathy is bullshit. And so she would buy that stuff for my daughter, and I'd be like, "This is why are you doing this, right?" And she didn't understand about it. I couldn't explain it to her. We never had a good relationship to begin with, so that probably didn't help. But it's just wasting money, And then I didn't want my daughter, growing up and going, "Oh, I got a cold. I'm gonna take some homeopathy stuff," And by the way, we also got the Daily Atheist in the live chat tomorrow. I will be on his podcast tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific time. We will be talking about science fiction. He had asked if I liked science fiction, and I was like, dude, I grew up with science fiction, man. Reading science fiction books, watching science fiction movies. Yeah, so we're going to have a good time tomorrow.
movies I think are the best. But to continue the conversation we were having, I think the most dangerous thing about like alternative medicine is when the natural human body will like cure itself of something, but they were taking some alternative medicine. So now you have like a study of not really a study, but a story of a guy who was cured by it, and then everybody else will rush out and get it, and they're just buying snake oil. It's like there will be cases where people will take it and get better. That will happen just because that's the natural case of things. People will just get better from things on their own. But that will push it on other people who are they're not even susceptible. They're hearing the stories. The stories are accurate, but it's just absolutely misleading. I think all alternative medicines should be illegal to sell.
Most of them, yeah. I mean, things that we know, like homeopathy, that doesn't work, it should be illegal. I mean, we already put the kibosh on certain things. I know, like for example, like Jilly Juice. You look at the Federal Trade Commission finally started cracking down on her. Right, one person I believe died from it.
Oh, finally! How long did that take?
Several years. Several years.
I thought it was more than one death.
I know of one. But like I said, I'll ask Jeff. I'll see him on Monday because he's going to be on the show. Jeff Holiday was on Dr. Phil, if you remember.
Yeah, I watched that.
with Jilly. And so he definitely knows a lot about Jilly Juice. And I even asked him the other day. I was like, well, do you want to talk about Jilly Juice? He's like, no. He's like, I don't blame him, man.
Over it.
He's done with it.
I wonder if he's actually tried to
anyway.
make it, to try it himself, like just a taste.
No,
I think he would try it. Yeah, Jeff. Oh yeah, Jeff is funny as shit, dude. I mean, do you know why Jeff Holiday got removed off Twitter? Do you know why he lost?
Oh
his
yeah, I
account?
know. Was it like pee pee poo poo or something on the sign?
Yeah, he had a sign outside Twitter's headquarters that said pee pee poo poo, and they removed him from the platform.
What?
Yeah, I'm not even exaggerating. He has a new account now, Venom something, and he has that picture on top, but he cut it off so you can't see the whole thing. But yeah, he's legit. He was out there in front of. I don't know why he did it, but
I thought when Twitter banned you off their platform, if you made another account, and they found out.
Yeah, if they found out,
remove it.
Yeah, somewhat.
You might
I
not
guess.
want to mention it then.
Oh well,
Yeah.
he's oh well, okay, well. But yeah, it's hilarious, man. Pee pee poo poo, and they said for some reason they found that to be so offensive they had to remove his account.
Yeah, I think you actually have to do an offense on like Twitter or something before that other rule I don't know if that's a fact or not, but he didn't like harass anybody on Twitter or break any of the rules.
No, it wasn't an IP ban either, so yeah, I don't know. If anybody, somebody's asking to come in. If you want to come in and you're not a member of the Discord, click in the video where it says link to Discord in the video description, and I will give you roles right now, and you can come on in there, Richard or anybody else that's been trying to get in that I ignored. I'm very sorry. This is really a light day today. This is like the lowest I've ever seen. It's only like, 8 people in right now, but I've got 190 people on the server.
Well, Source Truth has a question. He's tagged you in the philosophy. He's asking, what do you think about solipsism and the Matrix?
Well, let me read this. What do I think about solipsism and the Matrix? Well, first of all, I'm not a solipsist. If anything, I might tend to soft solipsism. I think most people generally do, but hard solipsism, absolutely not. I do think as a properly basic belief, external minds exist. I take it as a classical foundationist, properly basic belief that's neither supported by evidence nor negated by evidence. I think it is a faith-based commitment that other external minds exist. And no, I do not believe that we lived in a matrix. I do not believe that we are a brain in a vat. And I think there's ways of actually arguing against that using what's called a Morean shift and denial of the epistemic closure principle.
Okay.
That is interesting. I always fall back on solipsism as kind of like a go-to for well, it's one of the things that I try to tell people when they feel like even suicidal or something. I'm like, there's a chance that if you kill yourself, the universe will end.
Yeah,
I mean, for them it kind of will, but
Well, I mean, there's monistic idealism, which believes that you're in the mind of God, right? But no, when I say soft solipsism, basically that just entails that everything that I can see about reality, everything I know about reality, everything I can experience with reality, everything that's experiential is located in the mind and in my own mind. And I think that is the case. But I don't think that has any reason to think that external minds do not exist. So I just assume by presupposition that external minds exist.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I presuppose it. I can't prove it or disprove it, so whatever. I just act like I am real, so whatever.
Oh, by the way, I do got Dr. Josh Rasmussen on next week, if you didn't notice that. He is a theist philosopher. We are going to be talking about knowledge. We're going to be talking about various theories of knowledge, what it means to have knowledge, maybe a little bit about virtue epistemology. And I am going to be writing a blog probably tonight. What I did was I took a little nap today, and when I take a little nap, sometimes I think. And I was like, okay, how do I want to do this blog? But I am going to be writing a blog on I don't know. And when I say I don't know, I mean, I'm writing a blog on that phrase, I don't know, as epistemic ordinary doubt versus an expression of the proposition predicate of knowledge, right? Because when we say I don't know, we're not talking about a predicate of knowledge of knowing a proposition. So I think there's a lot of misconception there. And when I hear a lot of atheists, when I ask them questions and they say I don't know, that isn't really a proper response, even though it is a answer that could be, right? There's only a few types of closed answer questions. I mean, there's only two closed answers. Yes or no, the only two, believe it or not. But there are open-ended answers, right? But if I ask you something, whether like you believe or you don't believe, I don't know how I don't know is an acceptable answer. A person would, how do you not know whether you hold a position or you don't hold a position? Since it is binary, it is dichotomous. If you can't say you believe it, then you by the principle of bivalence, you don't believe it, right? So I think it's weird when I hear people say, well, I don't know whether I believe or not, right? Now you could say I don't know whether I believe or it's true, or I don't know if I believe it's false, and I have no position either way. That's fine. But I'm going to write a blog explaining that I don't know does not represent knowledge. What it represents is what's called, or I call it at least, ordinary epistemic doubt. I don't know if that's actually what it's called in the literature, but that's what I call it at least.
That is very interesting. I never really thought about it that way.
I think a lot, dude.
Oh, really? When it comes to like I don't know stuff, I mean, I guess you're right. I would like if it was like a seesaw and it had to go one way or another, it would be very. I can't even imagine a situation where it would be like perfectly even. I'd be on one side or the other on everything. I guess I maybe shouldn't use that phrase exactly that way. I should maybe explain what I mean. But I hear a lot of people when they do explain what they mean, instead of saying I don't know, it's always in a kind of response to the response that they think they're going to get from the audience that they're talking to. Like if somebody were to say, oh gosh, let me think of something that wouldn't demonetize your channel automatically. Like if somebody were to say,
nowadays just about everything does, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Is like the death penalty or something. Like, is it like should it be still in? Like, maybe I'm not 100% on that, but maybe I would explain where I'm kind of a little wishy-washy and where I mostly would be against it. Like I would explain it out, and that's kind of like instead of just saying yes or no, like I'm not exactly yes or no. There are some cases
that's fine. Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. That's not a binary situation, right? There are instances where if I say, well, are you for the death penalty? You're not. There is no middle ground to be had there. But you could say, well, I'm not really for it, but I could find times where I think there could be. But if the proposition is, should we have the death penalty? Well, actually, that's a question. I support the death penalty. There we go. That's a proposition, even though it's indexical. But let's say the proposition is I support the death penalty. Either you think that proposition is true or you think it's false, or you think that you have no position either way, right?
I don't, but could it be because what if I said yes or no, but in this case, yes? Like,
well, then you support the death penalty. But again, okay. the problems you really run into more are some of these propositions are one dealing with indexicalities, instantiations of what's called the token type distinction. a proposition seems to be able to have more than one value. And so dealing with classical logic, I've noticed, it seems to be kind of inappropriate when talking about certain things dealing with beliefs. It should be other forms of logic, like doxastic logic or epistemic logic or multi-value logic, to really kind of suss out some of the nuances, because a proposition by the law of excluded middle can only have a value of true or false. There are no other values it can have, right? And it cannot have both, right? The law of non-contradiction. But in some cases, it seems like a single proposition could be self-refuting and have a contradiction. I mean, look at the whole, this statement is false, right? The liar's paradox. You have to go into other forms of logic to actually try to resolve these things, second order logic and your non-basic classical logic. So it's just beliefs shouldn't really be distilled down to classical logic, but we all do it because that's what most people are more familiar with. But I think it forces people in a way to think more critically, just by talking about, in classical terms, but it does shoehorn. That does suck. It does shoehorn people into these positions, because you can only either believe or you don't believe. There's no other positions in classical logic, right? So you either support the proposition to be true, or you support the proposition to be false, or you have no position either way. Those are your three epistemic statuses.
And are you going to be taking like the stance or looking at I don't know from all these different kinds of logic, or you're going to just stick with
I don't know yet. I really don't know. I love that. I don't know. See, that means that I don't have enough information to determine what I'm going to be doing yet. So, right? So that's not a yes. That's not a no. It's an open-ended answer rather than a closed answer, because a closed question.
It's a maybe.
It's a maybe. Yeah, it's a maybe. There you go. It's a possibility.
Maybe.
But I think it's something that atheists haven't really thought of before when they answer a question. I don't know what they're really saying, because I thought about this before many times, but I really came to a head when I was talking to Amy, because she kept answering I don't know, and it was kind of odd, because I'm like, well, we're not talking about knowledge, because she kept relating I don't know to knowledge. And I kept telling her, let's stick within the domain of doxasticality, right? Beliefs, doxastic. And let's keep it under doxastics. And so she kept on putting it to epistemology. And as T. Jump always says, you're conflating epistemology with ontology, which 90% of the time they're not, but he just loves to throw that out there. But it's like, if I'm asking about beliefs, I'm not asking about knowledge, right? I mean, if I'm asking about knowledge, sure, you can argue I'm also asking about beliefs, because knowledge is a subset of belief. But I think that for people to understand these concepts better, they need to stick with a specific domain of beliefs and not involve knowledge right off the bat. And again, this is my personal view as a layperson that looked into these things, how I learned it. If you talk to epistemologists, they might completely disagree with me, and that's fine, right? People are allowed to have disagreements. But what they need to take into account is, as somebody who over the last 6 or 7 years learned these topics on my own, this is what helped me. And that they can't really, argue about, right? Where they can say, well, no, it didn't help you. Well, yeah, clearly it did, right? So take it for what it's worth.
You know where she got that I don't know stuff from, right?
Atheist Community of Austin? No, I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I was slightly being facetious, but yeah.
So now you want to take that from Matt too. God, you just hate him so much.
Bitch.
He loves saying I don't know. He praises people for saying I don't know. He's like, well, why don't you just say I don't know then? Even no matter what it is, it's like, if you can't answer it, just say I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe that is dishonest to say I have no idea.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's. Look, there are perfectly acceptable times to say I don't know, right? But when she was saying, like, I don't know because I don't have no knowledge either way, it's like, well, now you're changing the predication. Right? No P, more specifically, when you say no P, right, it's know that P. And know that P it seems to indicate that it is knowledge, as in the tripartite conditions for justified true belief, that the proposition is true, the subject believes the proposition, and the subject is justified to believe the proposition. So when you say know that P, you're seemingly saying that P has met all those conditions, or your justification is existing and you believe it. That's the way I read when I see know that P. Now, again, I might have a misconception about that, because I've never seen it actually written explicitly, but that's everything I've read in the literature where it says that know that P. It seems to be indicating that know that P is the proposition and the subject has been meeting all the conditions for it to actually be knowledge. But even if you say know P, you're saying that you are claiming that you have knowledge of the proposition that it is true, that you believe it and you're justified to believe it, which is one step greater than belief, right? Right? I mean,
yeah, I guess it would have to be, right?
yeah, because all is a subset of beliefs, right? So if I say I believe, if I believe aliens exist, okay, that's a dosastic claim, right? It has a certain burden of proof, right? Which can probably be met pretty easily with the Drake equation. That's how I do it. But if I say I know aliens exist, right? Much higher burden of proof, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
Right. Now, the thing, though, that you might blow your mind, and maybe I'll do a blog on it one of these days. Have you ever heard of something called reliabilism?
No.
Okay. Reliabilism is similar to justified true belief, but instead of having a justification process, it has a reliability of a process. And under reliabilism, there's something called the value. It's called the swamping problem, but the actual name for it is called the value something problem. God damn it! But it's basically saying that there's really no value difference between knowledge and justified belief. If I say I have a justified true belief, and I have knowledge of something, is there any more value to be had epistemically? Because what does it really mean to be different? I mean, it seems to be indicating the exact same thing. And the way Dr. Linda Zaleski puts it is that if you have an espresso maker that makes coffee that is reliable, the coffee that you get from it will be just as good and tasteful as one that is not reliable that makes the same type of coffee, right? If they both make a cup of coffee and it's exactly the same, even though the unreliable one may break down, but let's say it does work, right? So it makes you a cup of coffee, and then you have another espresso making machine that makes you a cup of coffee. Both of them are going to be exactly the same. So if one is reliable, which would be knowledge, right? Because in reliabilism, it's the process that makes it knowledge, not justification. Then why is it any different value-wise than just having a unreliable coffee maker that happens to make you a good cup of coffee? There's no value added in that way. Weird.
That I think I'm going to need to think about for a while.
Isn't epistemology fun?
My brain hurt.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I like I guess what's the word? I want to be very careful my phrasing here because if not, somebody's going to jump on it. Exposing people. There you go. I like exposing people to new things that they may have never heard before. Right? Because I think people do have a thirst to learn new things. And so a lot of these things that I find fascinating, people may have never heard of before. And I think that that's what I want to do for this channel. I want to do for my main channel, and I want to do for the Non Sequitur show when we get it back. Is I want people to be experiencing things they've not seen before, new topics, new arguments. Because I have a lot of my own personal arguments, right? I mean, love me or hate me, people can't say that I'm not novel.
Yeah.
Well, they do, but
Well, yeah, they can, but I mean, how many people actually out there are arguing their own arguments? I mean, and logically speaking, and saying, now they're all derivative. Don't get me wrong. I mean, my first real one, it was very derivative of Dr. Dr. Malik's paper, right? I mean, his paper I thought was very good. It was called the Defining Atheism and the Burden of Proof, and I derived my second order proof based upon that all atheists have a burden of proof, and he liked it. He really did like it. He thought it was really good, and he thought that my review of his video, or he thought my video of his review of his paper was really good. And so, yeah, it's derivative, but he thought that I worded it very well, because I think he was making that argument, but he didn't really just explicitly make that kind of argument. And so I kind of worded it much more explicitly, put it in a logical format, and I put it as a second order belief. And that's something that, Dr. Malpass actually advocates, second order versus first order beliefs, a belief about a belief. Yeah. So.
Well, when I say that people are saying that you may not be noble about about things, I'm not talking about your pursuit of knowledge. I'm talking about all the other nonsense crap.
Yeah, well, I still think I'm decently novel. But like I said, my arguments are counterproductive to like the goals of the ACA and the American Atheist and Atheist Republic, because they put out this information and I put out that information and they're incongruent with each other. So a lot of people have to decide, well, do we want to believe Steve or do we want to believe these big organizations? Which is fine, believe who you want. But one thing I've ever asked is, go look for yourselves. Go look for evidence about why they're right, and you won't find any.
I don't believe that this is something that people should have any value in myself, but it's something that I don't know how to coin it. I like to call it comfortable beliefs, but what is something like how the ACA, they like to try to define atheism in a way that kind of makes puts more people under the atheist umbrella, even if they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, political
and
reasons.
So that for them is like, it's better for them to believe it, regardless of if it's true. Like, what is that?
Okay, well, that's a position that got, for example, like genetically modified skeptic takes. And I don't begrudge him for it. He actually has a decent argument. When you're arguing for utility, when you're arguing for, hey, our goal is to have the greatest amount of political influence, they have a decent argument for that. Okay? In that place, you want voting power because that's their goal, right? But I have two counter arguments to that. One, if that is your goal to have political expediency in the short term, what about the long term when people find out that you're not actually having consistent rational beliefs? When you're actually saying one thing about we are the arbiters of reason and promoting logic and critical thinking, but we're willing to sacrifice it in certain regards to allow for category errors in order for political expediency, which they do. Right? It seems to be they're looking very short term rather than long term. My second point against that would be, what is the value to be had by telling people something that is untrue in order to be a Machiavellian, the ends justify the means things? I don't believe that the ends justify the means in that particular case. They need to show that there's a higher value to be had by doing that. It's just like, for example, they'll argue against people that lying for Jesus, which I think is really bad, right? I don't think you should lie for Jesus. They would probably agree. Theists should not lie for Jesus. But they seem to be lying, and I don't want to use the word like in a very deliberate sense as far as like they're actively lying, because some of them may not actually be. But in the long run, it is misconceptions and misinformation being put out. And they're doing it for political gain, for ends justify the means things. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, am I off on that? Would you say that those 2 points are not good rebuttals?
I mean, yes, I understand, but I think that there should be like a word for it, like a blank belief or something like that you can actually put it in. It's so people can recognize it, because I see it all over the place.
Well, there is useful fictions, if that's what you're referring to. A useful fiction is a false belief that has utility. Like, for example, the ideal gas law is considered to be a useful fiction because it doesn't really exist. There's no such real thing as the ideal gas law that actually works, because there's no such thing as an ideal gas. It's a hypothetical, but it's a useful fiction. So maybe that's
I think it's that is in a lot of people's beliefs that I see on YouTube all the time. I even think that that's why flurfers exist.
I think they exist because they're just stupid.
Well, exactly. That's why. But that's why they believe in these quote unquote useful fictions.
Well, I mean,
it's it's like they have their cake of like religion. Most of them are religious, so I'm categorizing them. I'm putting them all in the same boat. It's different otherwise, but most of them are in this camp. They have like a cake, and that cake is their religion, and they can put this other cake on top of it, which is like flat Earth beliefs that go along with stuff in the Bible. So it's like doubling down on their God belief with this really stupid crap.
Yeah, no, I don't just really disagree with that. But what's funny is a lot of useful fictions come from evolutionary theory. The argument that a false belief has survival benefits to it, right? The person who thinks there's a noise in the bush that takes precautions for it, for that one time that it actually is a tiger trying to kill them, is going to be evolutionarily more adapt to survive and procreate, right? So there has been arguments for what's called useful fictions or false beliefs being of utility to a species or to an individual organism in a population because of that very thing. Having false beliefs being good, right? Now, do I necessarily hold to that? But, I can think of times where a false belief might be beneficial for a pragmatic reason. For example, when people are really sick and they are, taking experimental drugs, it is useful to them to have a belief that they're going to get better, whether it's true or not, because there has been research to show that people have better outlooks, right? Better dispositions of their prognosis is going to have a better outcome. That's actually established science. So in that case, having that belief, even though it's a false belief, does it have a better utility for them because there has a marginally better chance of survival? Yes, right? There's been actually papers written on that very subject, and if you have confidence and you're going to go out in a baseball game and hit a ball, is it better to have a false belief that you can actually hit that ball and knock it out of the park, even though you suck at it? But is there a better chance of you actually performing and doing it? So I mean, there are things in epistemology about that very subject.
Yeah, and they're right. I mean, even right now we have currently it's I heard that people were saying that if you don't think that you have the coronavirus, that you might as well start acting as if you did, because you're contagious way before you get symptoms.
Yeah, no, and exactly, it's kind of a similar thing. And yes, by the way, Maki, this is non-Gettier belief systems. Yes, do they hold more value than any others of knowledge? Correct. Linda Zabriskie actually had pointed out in one of her papers, I don't remember the name, that any belief first system has a Gettier problem due to what's called epistemic luck. And I think she's right on that. I do find Gettier problems to be fascinating. A lot of people would argue, well, does it really matter about epistemic luck? I think so. I think it really does. If you're going to establish what somebody means by knowledge, and you just got lucky, right? If it's just because of epistemic luck, did you really know it? No, I don't really think that you did, right? Now, again, not everyone might think that way. There might be people that like epistemology or that argue, yeah, well, you still knew it. Even though you got lucky. Again, this is where philosophy comes in, right? There is no maybe right or wrong answer. I think, though, if you just got lucky, you really didn't know it. I do think Linda Zabriskie has a point on epistemic luck there. So, you guys read her stuff. This is what happens when I get a nap in and I get coffee in me right afterwards.
All right, what was the stream about? What was it about again?
I think we started with Pastor Greg Locke and the church gathering, faith or social responsibility. Then we migrated to epistemology for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like a good little minion, I let you just tire yourself out.
You suck as a minion. How do you find a good minion anymore, man? God dang.
You took yourself out.
You pay them.
Oh, well, screw that. Yeah, I'm telling you, I have the worst troll group of all time. I always love when people say, Steve's a criminal mastermind that has a massive troll group that goes out and does this. I'm like, can I get a name of one of them? Anybody? Steve has to have an idea of all his moderators. Really? Can I have a moderator that ever happened to it? Steve, my favorite one was recently. I swear to God, dude. When I took every so often I'll take my Twitter private, right? There's many different reasons behind that, and I think that people should every so often. But it's not private now. But when it was private, did you know that I had it private because it was behind a paywall and people had to pay me to see my tweets?
Oh, I was unaware.
Me too. I don't know how that quite works. That's right up there with somebody somebody actually accused me of being able to delete other people's tweets. I'm like, how does that work?
No. I think I know everybody is.
Yeah. So
they're watching fight debate Nathan Thompson.
Yeah, I saw that come up in my thing. I'm not gonna go watch Nathan Thompson, but whatever. I was gonna have the after show, but I don't even care enough to be honest with you. I don't care about Flat Earth right now.
Oh, come on, care.
Yeah, he's got about 848 people watching. That's pretty good. And I suck. I feel bad because I'm a moderator for his channel, and I should be moderating his stuff, and he is helping me do the after shows. But I don't want to deal with Nathan Thompson Flat Earth stuff, and I want to listen to it. Am I a bad man for not wanting to deal with that crap?
I mean, everybody
Reds
needs a
doesn't
break
wanna
from
deal with
stuff
that crap.
personal.
Icarus asked me what happened to your Nick Minion. You mean Nick Suter? He's going to be on. I don't know if it's next week or the week after. We got to do.
Around, he's just busy.
Yeah, he's just busy, right? Because I did find him a new co-host when Ansgar left. I got him in touch with Courtney Stewart from In Time, and they seem to be doing well. I have 2 Ask a Philosophers this week, though, which is unusual. I'm doing one on Wednesday with MJ Dory, who has a master's degree in philosophy, and then I'm doing one with Dr. Josh Rasmussen, who has a PhD in philosophy. So it's going to be a busy week. And we are doing a rum and coke night tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I got Jeff Holiday on Monday. Yeah, it's going to be a fun week, I guess. Yeah, Nathan Thompson is a blight upon humanity. I do agree with Sean Carroll on that. But it's so funny when people say that I do things for views. I'm like, if I wanted to do views, I'd be doing flat earth stuff. Right? I mean, it's like, no, I don't do a goddamn thing for views. I got 13 people watching. This is the lowest video I've had all year, but I'm still enjoying myself. I don't.
It's the best video.
It's the best. I don't sacrifice my principles for views or for dollars for donos like some people do.
I mean, the whole flat earth thing is slowing right down from what I've noticed. Like, views on both sides have, like, not plummeted, but they've definitely gone down over time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he still has 1,000 people watching almost. That's pretty good. Now, I wouldn't mind doing another debate on Honor Day Debate. I've done, 2, I think, already? 2? At least 2? Maybe 3? 2? I know 2 for, I remember. But nobody wants to debate me. They're scared to death at the last ones. I mean, I still have that one guy who was stalking me for like a year afterwards because he got beat so bad.
I don't even understand that. What did he want?
Duke? I don't know, but he just legit stalked me for about a year, and he didn't know what the hell I was talking about during the debate. He had no idea in the world what the hell like a theological cognitivist was. And then like a couple weeks later, he was a self-proclaimed expert on the topic, telling everybody how wrong I was and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, they're all like, dude, shut up. You got your ass handed to you. I don't mess around when I go in for the debate. I mean, look what happened with Wayne Fillmore. I mean, he literally left Younger Creationism after our debate and wrote a blog for BioLogos thanking me years later. So I
guess debates can be what do you call it? Beneficial sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. But the problem is debates I see a lot of times are so boring. They're not my type of debate. Like I love James, but I don't really care for his moderation style. And other people do, and that's fine. We have a very different way of moderating. I'm very hands-on, and I like to be engaging. I like to have discussions. He just lets 2 people have at it and introduces them and then ends it. And that's anybody I think can do that. You know. You try to moderate a debate with somebody like Nephilim Free or something, or 2 PhDs where they're trying to explain something to the audience, because you're really doing it for the audience. I'm not interested in listening to 2 PhDs debate each other on a topic that nobody freaking understands what they're saying. I want the audience to understand. This is why I think it's better to have a discussion where they're explaining it in ways that the audience understands, and then people will like watch more. I mean, that's the whole format for the Non Sequitur show, was to explain people to the audience and let them be engaged with it. I mean, look at like a coin guy. When we had Rick Zaffif on, that was fascinating, right? He was explaining stuff to the audience, right? Or even like the case when we had Dr. Lawrence Krauss on, I was explaining things to the audience then. I think that was a good winning format, and it's a shame that that format was changed later on, because the newer format didn't work. Just straight up didn't work.
Yeah.
But I definitely prefer conversations over debates.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the way you should do it.
And we're going to get back to that. Like I said, it's just that right now everybody's in a lull. Everybody's in a shitty situation. So we're just going to have to muddle through it, and it is what it is. So, but anyways, I am going to end this. I don't think it's going to be going too much with everything else that's going on right now. I saw literally in my inbox 8 other shows going on right now, which is fine. Just like I said, I just do this for me. But I will be on 8 o'clock in the morning on the Daily Atheist channel to talk about science fiction, which is going to be really fun. And I think I might. I'll probably be on Drunken Peasants here coming up eventually. I'm usually on once or twice a month, so that's always fun.
Cool.
So, all right, guys, any last words?
No, watch all the streams from yesterday. There was like 4 of them, maybe 5. Shit.
Yeah, that was an all-day event yesterday. Cheshire had 2. I had 1. Yeah, that was definitely.
You had 2.
I had 2. Yes, right. Yeah, I did have 2 streams yesterday, and usually I don't stream even 2 days in a row. This is unusual for me. Usually I'll stream and then I won't stream. But I've been antsing a little bit. I've been drinking a lot of coffee and haven't gone out anywhere, so I've been like homebound. So, anyways, but I appreciate people's support. Like, subscribe, blah blah blah. That happy shell stuff. And again, you know what's funny, dude? I asked for 12 subs the other day just so I could get my number to an even number because it was killing me on my main account. My OCD that I don't have, but maybe I do. And I didn't get any off of it. I was like, we're gonna have to do a sub drive. So
yeah, everybody who heard you was already subbed.
I know that's the problem. It's like I got a really good core group. I 6,000 people came over from the Non Sequitur show, and so I don't really have a lot of new influx of subs. I lost those 500 of the people that came over temporarily just for that drama crap that people were, like doing that. And I didn't want any of those subs. I'm like, those are not my viewing audience. And so they all left. And then YouTube had purged them, I'm sure. And so I've been legit haven't changed in like 2 months now or something. If you go look at my metrics, which is okay. But I've been told I really need to do work on it more because I never really had before. What?
You can just make a new non-sec. It's just make one.
Just take a $100,000 channel and make a new one. That channel's not worth it. Yeah, it's not worth $100,000 anymore. But I think we can get it back up there. So,
For some reason, this current live stream is not in my sub box.
I don't think people got notification for this stream. To be honest with you,
I got a notification. It's not on my sub page.
What do you mean it's on your
That's
sub page?
weird.
You're not subscribed to this channel?
I am.
What do you mean it's not on your sub page?
And I have notifications on, which is how I got here, but it's not in my sub page.
Oh my gosh, it's not mine either.
I don't know what that means.
I'm looking at my subscriptions and you're not there. Why aren't you here?
I don't know. Subscribe and then resubscribe, I guess?
Oh no, he's not the only person having this problem. Maybe nobody knows that you. How did anybody figure out that this was going on?
I don't know. Like I said, this is my alt channel. I got a notification.
So. That's how I got here.
Yeah.
And that's also why we only have 14 watching. I would imagine.
Sweet did something on Discord and I clicked on it. No, that's how I got here.
And by the way, Michael Wells is right. Like he's one of these people that he's talking about. He's like, you got a handful of people during the drama mess that have been worth keeping around. That is true. Obviously with like Moon, she was definitely somebody. But for the most part, the drama crowd that just wants people to watch people shit on people. Not my style. Like I don't mind calling people out, and I love my unleashes, and I really do enjoy pointing out people's inconsistencies, their misinformation, their bullshit, and their lies. But I don't make anything up to do that, and they do, right? And so I will not deal with people directly, and never have any engagement with them directly if they're the type of content creator that has to lie to get views. I don't. I block them, and I don't watch any of their stuff, and I never will. So, she. Yeah, I'm sorry. She. Yeah, I don't know why I called it
stream.
Michelle. Yeah, I knew that, Michelle.
Like, did you put the stream on like a few days ago, and like that's when you had it scheduled, or did you just make this?
I just legit made this today. This was not scheduled.
You're hidden completely.
Yep, yeah, it's not there.
But just remember, this is the GDC. This is not Steve McRae channel. This is not my main channel. This is my alt channel.
Right. Yeah, no, but it's not. The live streams are normally pushed to the front of your subscriptions page, and it's not here.
You mean when you go to your YouTube channel, like what's live? I don't know what you're talking about.
I can see on
the subscriptions page. So youtube.com/feed/subscriptions. Your live streams are normally the first thing you see at the top.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I just went to my subscriptions too, and I see a couple other things streamed, but not this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you are hidden.
I wonder if it's been shadowbanned. Dun dun dun.
Oh God, that would be terrible.
Shadowbanned. But I don't know. YouTube does some weird stuff, dude. So don't jump to a conclusion. I've had other things that have had weird things go on. So, but yeah, this is unusual. This is the lightest episode of anything I've ever done, I think. I've never had 12 people watching for 8 years.
I found it odd there's only 12 people watching, and I was like, wait, that can't be right.
Yeah, there's 4,500 subscribers to this channel. and many of them are still active. I mean, at least a few, 100 that watch regularly. So yeah, it's something with YouTube right now. But I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to stream to my main channel today anyways. So this was just, something that I wanted to get out. It was mostly because I thought Ceti Marie Jones was going to come in and say something, but she decided not to because I never get any quality time with her anyways. So on her. And I also wanted to try out my restream, which, by the way, might be one of the reasons because I am doing something different. I'm restreaming to my YouTube and to my Facebook. And normally I set this up a little differently, and so maybe the restreaming had an effect on it. Maybe
use Restream.io or whatever.
Yeah, I'm using Restream.io right now, so I'm sending it to my Facebook to have maybe people come over from my Facebook page and actually sub to this channel to get some a little bit of increase in growth. Because again, I haven't really promoted myself at all, and I need to.
Well, I mean, it's a really good thing you figured out this, like, kind of on maybe a dick around kind of stream rather than, like, you get somebody, like, important on and then 12 people show up.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's why I do a lot of things on this particular channel. I test it out. I do games on this channel, and I just check my audio stuff on this channel. This is kind of my catch-all channel for a lot of different stuff. So, Ceti Marie Jones, you are forgiven. You will always be forgiven. Mwah to you. Don't worry. But I would like to get your opinion on it because I know you do agree with me, so just whatever. Yeah, Michelle didn't get a notification, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm just going to chalk it up to YouTube hijinks right now. And by the way, my Facebook, I only have one person watching. I have 5,000 people on my Facebook page. Right?
You think Restream
People still
is
use
not
Facebook.
doing it right?
I don't know, but I legit have one person on my Facebook, which is unusual, right? So something's definitely up. Yeah, I don't.
People still use Facebook?
Yeah, I still use Facebook. Although I found that my Facebook now has the newer version, and I tried the newer version. God, I sucks. Everything's new sucky, right? I mean, the YouTube Beta Studio is shit. Twitter's new format is shit. I actually found a mod that takes back the Twitter to the old format, and I like it so much better. The Facebook, you can at least go back to the classic for now, but the Studio Beta, that is actually going to be dominant, and the classic YouTube Studio is going away. Google News changed their format years ago, and people harped on that forever because it had so much white space. Let me ask you guys this for maybe a future hangout. Why is it that companies think that their improvements are actually improvements when they look like they're going backwards? They're not improving. They're shit.
They're improving their bottom line.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
And that's what it is about, because what they're trying to do is equalize across platforms. And so it's easier to have certain code that could be used for handheld devices, tablets, phones, computers. And so I think they're trying to do away with having different things for different platforms. But yeah, every time I've seen somebody improve something, like Google News, didn't improve it. It sucked. Beta Studio sucks. New Facebook, didn't like. And new Twitter, absolutely horrible. Right? So.
But it brings in a lot of money.
Yeah. Well,
I miss when your YouTube homepage was like a mini website in and of itself that you could fully customize with like a full background and header and everything.
That I
So it was,
prefer something
it was like
yeah.
yours.
Customizable, yeah. Well, I don't know. Do you guys know that Twitter? You can there's a program called Good Twitter. And if you like the old Twitter back, the old style, go download the mod called Good Twitter, and it'll bring it back for you. Did you
I
know
don't
that?
care enough about Twitter to bother.
Yeah, Twitter sucks. It's a cesspool.
I haven't used Twitter. I mean, I never used Twitter until you got me to use Twitter.
I have effect on people. See?
Thanks.
See, you are my minion. So anyways, like I said, I'm going to wrap this up. I do want to thank Sweet Heathen for her advice today. I didn't know what I wanted to do today. I said, should I sleep, should I drink, or should I stream? She said, do all three, and I did. So
At the same time.
At the same motherfucking time. No, I can't sleep and stream at the same time because who the hell knows what the hell's going to happen to my stream? That would be bad. But I did take a little nap. I got up
on Twitch.
Oh, yeah, Twitch would be. Yeah, I'm not gonna. You know what? I tried doing Twitch, and maybe I will again. But anyways, I did take a little nap. I got up, had coffee and brandy, not that much, and now I've streamed. So my day is done. I will see you guys tomorrow, 8:00 in the morning Pacific time, on the Daily Atheist podcast. I'll be promoting it on my Facebook page and on my Twitter page. But for the rest of you guys, head over to this video if you're on my Facebook page later on, and subscribe to the Great Debate Community. It's got 4.36K. Maybe we get that to 4.5 one of these days. It hasn't moved in ages. And maybe get me 12 more on my main page, which you can find from just typing in my name on YouTube. Steve McRae, I don't know, the first person to pop up. And you go watch the 1,000 other videos of hate videos that I have that people like do for me. It's really weird. Do you guys notice that? It doesn't matter who they are. It's people that put my name in a video title just to get clickbait out of it. Right? Does that mean I become an official social influencer, or I've made it in YouTube where people will just put my name in their title, even though the whole thing doesn't have fuck all to do with me?
You've got a hate mob.
Oh,
when you got a hate mob,
I had that last year. Yeah, had that.
Next time I stream a Metroid game, I'm gonna be like Super Metroid Part 1, Steve McRae.
Do it. See if you get any more. Yeah, get some clicks out of it. Like I said, I don't watch any of the ones that have my name in it, but I see them come up every so often, and I'm like, what the fuck does this got to do with me? I have no idea. And it's like 200 people watching, and I'm like, do I know any of these people? Because they're not my fans. I don't think, because nobody ever tells me about it.
Just add Steve McRae exposed to the end of all of his video games.
Dude, I did.
That would be great.
But I did that. I made a video just like 2 weeks ago. Sweet Heathen and I had a video, Steve McRae Exposed, where we read mean Christian comments. That video was popular. It got thousands of views. And I don't know if it was because that we were reading, mean Christian comments, or that I had Sweet Heathen in it, or the fact that I had my name exposed in it. I don't know.
Probably a combination of all three.
It's probably a combination of all three, but I swear to God, man, I anybody who puts in their title exposed, you won't believe, you can't believe what happens next, anything like that, it's all clickbait, man. Sweet Heathen's you see what she's doing? She's taking credit. It's all her. She's taking credit. See
if a video has any word fully capitalized, I typically don't click on it unless it's a Doom 2016 or Doom Eternal video.
I did capitalize exposed.
Doom is capitalized for some reason. I don't know why.
No, I did capitalize exposed in that video. You know what I try next? I'm going to try this. Sweet Heathen exposed. And we'll see people, whatever their imaginations do. Yeah. Yeah, I'll put it 18 plus. That way, really, like people are like, oh, well, I definitely have to go watch this. But then you can't monetize
exposed,
it. So,
the seventh will surprise you. Who clicks on those lists? Oh,
yeah, I see the. You'll never believe the photo. Yeah,
You'll never believe what happens.
Yeah, sometimes they get me. Sometimes I do curious. But what I'll do is this. I'll leave you guys with this little cheat. Whenever you see something like that, you can just kind of like highlight that and go put it in Google and find a whole page where you don't sit there and click. Because normally you have to click through like next. Each one has ads, and that's how they get you. But usually you can find some other article on it to go, okay, this is what the hell they're talking about, if you're that interested in it. So anyways. But like I said, I am going to bring this to a close because I'm really surprised that YouTube didn't put this out. And I'm really surprised that people didn't join a Discord, because I've got people out there, but they're not using the Discord, even though I was told help promote the Discord. So I'm trying. I can only do so much. But Mr. Serious, Rez,
it doesn't help when the freaking live stream just end up in a subscriptions page.
Yeah, but at least you got a notification in your email. So
I got notification via YouTube. So,
but we'll see if people on the Facebook that help restreaming to that, because like I said, I think it's probably a restream issue. So.
Maybe.
Yeah. I'm just going to chalk it up for a one-off. This is like the least watched video I've ever had, which is fine, like I said. But this is also the same time that I'm doing something new with the restream, so I think there might be some reasons for that. And I don't know why, but what I'll do is I'll ask Bullinator. He might know.
Yeah, he'll know.
Yeah. All right, guys.
He'd be here if we got the notification.
That's probably true. That's probably true. All right, like I said, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific, and good night.
Love you guys.
Love you.